Прикинь, если я делал бы, я бы посоветовал бы по-другому.
Да.
Вот чисто по боксу пусти их, Хамзат лучше. Вот чисто по боксу. Это мое мнение. Просто здесь есть такой момент. Ты можешь сфорсировать события. Там раунд, 2. Но если ты его не финишируешь, ты очень много энергии потратишь.
Khabib's got a warning for Khamzat. Don't rush it. He believes going all out early could backfire hard if DDP survives the storm. In Khabib's eyes, a smarter, boxing-based game plan might be the key to winning the most brutal fight of Khamzat's career. Khabib Nurmagomedov opens the discussion with high praise for Dricus Du Plesis, describing him as a hardy, great fighter who is hard to beat. Unconventional, high-volume punching is his main weapon. Khabib admits that he miscalculated Du Plesis and that his relentless pressure helped him beat Sean Strickland. To avoid gassing out, Khabib advises Khamzat Chimaev not to hurry for an early knockout. Instead, taking the battle to the ground is the strategic way to win.
Знаешь, как боец такой, что если ты его не вырубаешь, он будет драться до конца. Ну, последних сколько боев? Боев 5, у него такие-то вот долгие.
Прям запоминающий, да. Он вырубался, вставал, то есть он был в нокдауне.
Он интересный соперник. Он очень крепкий, он будет драться. Такой своеобразный кикбоксинг, руки-ноги выкидывать. Вот что хорошо, вот что плохо, например, у Дю Плеси. Он не такой точный, но он очень много выкидывает. Он постоянно выкидывает руки-ноги, постоянно он в атаке, если вы смотрели. Даже Стрикландом. Я в этом бою конкретно ошибся. Я думал, что Стрикланд своим давлением все он должен взять. Но он его перебил. Перебил как своим. Он очень много накидывает, он не стоит. Бывают такие бойцы, вот они заходят, он так думает, кидает, смотрит. Да. А бывают такие, не так сильно у них техника, но он очень много накидывает. Я думаю, что мое личное мнение, я бы Хамзату посоветовал бы, чтобы он в стойке дрался с ним.
Но мне кажется, вот как будто вот его стиль такой, что с первых минут атаку, как будто его надо придерживаться, нет, этого стиля?
Прикинь, если я делал бы, я бы посоветовал бы по-другому.
Да. Вот
чисто по боксу пусти их, Хамзат лучше. Вот чисто по боксу. Это мое мнение. Просто здесь есть такой момент. Ты можешь сфорсировать события. Там раунд, 2. Но если ты его не финишируешь, ты очень много энергии потратишь. А потом надо в чемпионских боях.
Meanwhile, Brendan Schaub wonders if Khamzat's usual wrestling game plan will be enough for his upcoming fight. He's a big DDP fan and has heard great things about his grappling skills, but he's also seen Khamzat dominate world-class wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys in person. Schaub believes DDP's ability to hang with Khamzat at that level will determine if it's an early night or not. He's excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just curious, does Khamzat come with the same game plan that's kind of got him to the dance and try to overwhelm him and wrestle him? Because I think he's going to have his hands full. I don't know. Because I'm such a DDP fan, but I don't know. I've heard stories how good he is with grappling and some of the crazy shit he's done in jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. Right. I've seen Khamzat, and then I've seen Khamzat in person in camp going against world-class wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys, and I'm up. So I don't know, is DDP at that level? Because if he's not, it's going to be a short night.
In addition, Brendan points out that DDP is a monster who, like Khamzat, took out Whitaker. He questions Khamzat's strategy, wondering if he'll stick to his wrestling-heavy game plan or risk facing DDP in the later rounds. He emphasizes that DDP has championship round experience and is a massive individual weighing in at 230 pounds, so if Khamzat can't secure the takedown early, he could be in for a rude awakening.
But look what DDP did to Whitaker. I mean, they both f***ed him up. DDP's a monster, dude. Yeah. And even though Khamzat, I've seen him with my own eyes, his cardio is very good, but DDP's experienced, championship rounds good. So if you're Khamzat, do you do what got you to the dance, where you overwhelm guys to try to get them down and break their will and submit them right away? Well, the question is, and this can be answered, and I'm not saying he can't, but what happens if in those first 2 rounds he can't get DDP down? Then what? And then he gets tired in the 3rd. Then what, Brian? And then that 4th and 5th, You have DDP, might I remind you, the guy's my size that cut down to 85.
I mean,
so he's every bit of 210, 215.
Do you think he walks around at
230? 230.
230.
Yeah.
He's that big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Furthermore, because it eventually hurts their fighter, Josh Thompson calls it the dumbest thing ever when coaches disparage their opponents. He has also observed the massive DDP hype train. Although he acknowledges that DDP is large, tough, and has excellent cardio, he is quick to warn against undervaluing Chimaev's abilities. The Chimaev puzzle has still to be solved. Thompson reminds everyone,
he also said Chimaev has got terrible stand-up.
Which is not true.
It's not true. Yeah, and I was really surprised. I'm going to say it right now, and it's, I have a lot of friends that are coaches, obviously. I hate when a coach starts talking about an opponent like that. I think it's the dumbest thing they can do. It does not help your fighter in any fashion. You could think he's the worst thing in the world. That's fine. That's between you and your fighter, and you keep it that way. And when you're talking about him, you talk about how great he is. Because all it does when you put the guy down is if your fighter does win, then it's like, yeah, but you said he was no good anyways. So it's like, don't do that. It's the dumbest thing ever. Yeah. Talk about all the strengths and the things that he does. I looked at the fact that his coach is coming out saying things. I think it's crazy. I think it's wrong. But this whole matchup, there's a lot of people talking. You and I, obviously, we have our thing, and we've already talked a little bit about it, but I am surprised at how much people are jumping on the DDP bandwagon now after watching everything that they've watched and stuff, and everyone is going with, he's awkward, he's super tough, he's got great cardio, he's very big, he's super strong. All those things are true. You can't take them away, but don't minimize what skill level Chimaev brings to this fight, because there's no one that has figured out that puzzle yet.
At the same time, John McCarthy thinks it's a great sign that DDP is talking about taking Chimaev down, which makes him consider betting on him. He points out the funny split between the MMA world, which is leaning towards DDP, and the betting world, which favors Chimaev. McCarthy also notes that the betting odds have tightened up, making the fight feel a lot closer.
He's going to take me down, and I'm going to take him down. That, to me, after just talking about the co-main event with Urseg and him making the fight adjustments and the changes, to me, that's spectacular. Mm-hmm. To know that he's possibly going to try to wrestle Chimaev, that makes my brain think, look, I may start leaning a little bit more towards DDP when it comes to the betting lines, because John, there is a lot. I'm actually looking them up right now.
Well, what's funny is if you're going to look at the MMA world as far as fighters and people, for the most part, everyone is going on to the DDP side. You look into the betting world, they're on the Khamzat Chimaev side. So it's really funny. You've got a real split here.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to put their money where their mouth is.
Well,
yeah, I don't blame them.
True.
I mean, in one of these fights, actually, the odds are actually a lot closer than when we talked last week. Right now, they've got DDP at a plus 170. You got Chimaev at a minus 205. I mean, that's really close. So you start,
no, it's not. It's almost 2-1.
I mean, that's close to me. Come on. I feel like that's close. I mean, but there's a little bit. That's close. Like this is one of those fights where I know there hasn't been enough for most people. Their sample size on Chimaev is enough. Oh, I've seen it. I believe he's the greatest. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. You're a Chimaev fan.
Similarly, Ben Fowkes believes DDP's upcoming fight against Khamzat is a true test, as he's a guy everyone has underestimated for years. He highlights DDP's shocking success against elite competition like Whitaker, Strickland, and Adesanya, and says that if he beats Khamzat, he will have defeated almost every middleweight champion of the past several years. He notes that we are once again doubting DDP, expecting this to be the fight where his winning streak ends.
I mean, honestly, think about where he'll be if he goes out there and he beats Khamzat Chimaev, especially for a guy. Yeah. We've been looking at DDP for the last 2-3 years and going, okay, you won the last one, but surely you will lose the next one.
I know.
Like we refuse to believe that he's any good. He looks awkward. He looks stiff at times. We look at this guy and we keep being like, how do you keep winning fights? Because we feel deep down in our bones that you are not very good. And yet he keeps doing it. If he beats Khamzat here, he will have beaten in the course of like 1 year's time Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, and Khamzat Chimaev. And then if you go back even further, you add the win over Robert Whittaker, he'll basically have beaten anyone who got their hands on the UFC middleweight title at any point over the last like several years. You know, basically everyone since Anderson Silva, pretty much. That's incredible. Especially for a guy who we keep acting like we always think the next one is where he's going to be finally exposed. And we're doing it again here. You know we are. Like, everybody's looking at this one and being like, all right, Khamzat going to smash you. Like, he stylistically, he's a bad matchup for you. Like, this is the one where the DDP train finally gets derailed.
Likewise, Chuck Mindenhall dives into how we sometimes hype up boogeyman fighters, totally overlooking the sheer grit of their opponents. He's loving DDP's rocky vibe, challenging Chimaev on his home turf, a true sign of a next-level competitor. Plus, DDP's got that Michael Jordan mindset, always learning, always showing up, even when folks keep writing him off. This champ just keeps racking up wins against legends, making everyone else look foolish for doubting him.
I can appreciate it, and maybe we overblow this, like when we talk about guys like Chimaev. Like, I feel like sometimes in media mind and also in like just the general the fans, like you build up this boogeyman, right? Like, and you're like, nobody wants to face this guy, man. He's gonna go through everybody, and you kind of discount the competitor that's in some of these guys. And I feel like when I see a guy like DDP basically saying, I want to fight him, I didn't want to just fight him. I wanted to fight him in his own backyard, you know? It's that Rocky IV vibe, right? Like, where he's like, I'll go fight Drago out in Russia on Christmas Day. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go face him. I love that sort of setup. It always tells me something about the size of the competitor. And I think Du Plessis was talking about, too, being just like a big Michael Jordan fan, right? Wasn't this and he was reading, he said he reads his books about his mindset. This is the problem when we were talking about John Jones recently. I was like, we were calling him the Michael Jordan of the sport for a long time, yet he didn't really have a mindset like Michael Jordan did. Where this guy, we don't give him the proper like respect in some ways as being a champion, even though he just keeps going in there and doing work. And yet he does have that mindset, and I can appreciate it, man.
Following that, Luke Thomas presents a compelling scenario for the DDP versus Khamzat fight, speculating on DDP's ability to withstand Khamzat's notoriously brutal early rounds. He acknowledges Khamzat's first-round grappling dominance, but suggests DDP possesses the resilience to survive, even through a messy start. The real test, Thomas believes, will begin after 15 minutes, as a still-standing DDP in round 4 would signal significant trouble for Khamzat, particularly given his past struggles in longer, tougher contests.
Certainly Khamzat is, one of the best first-round fighters I've ever seen, especially in the grappling. That's one thing. But the way I'm looking at it is not that. My kind of assumption is he might lose it and maybe even lose it badly, but I do think he'll survive. And then I think he'll find ways to hang on in the second and maybe certainly even the third. So what does he do then? Like, the fact that he kind of wilted a little bit against Gilbert and then he wilted a little bit against Usman, that was a 170er, and those were both 3-round fights, right? Mm-hmm. DDP is different. You know what I mean? So to me, there's no question he could, like, again, it goes back to Dominic Reyes and John Jones.
Next, Luke dives into the striking game, giving Khamzat the edge for his clean technique, powerful jab, and unexpected knockout threat on the feet. He then pivots to DDP's likely approach, envisioning a diverse kickboxing attack from range, complete with spins, kicks, and even clinching. The real mystery for Thomas is how Khamzat's raw power will clash with DDP's more varied distance-based strategy.
I would say the cleaner of the two is definitely Khamzat. Khamzat, what he wants, has a good jab. He can stick behind it. And one of the interesting parts about Khamzat, and this is why he's such a dynamic talent, he's got power too. You go back to the Gerald Meerschaert fight. Like, he's not just a ground and pound threat like a Khabib. On the feet, he'll hurt you bad. He's got real power. So to me, that makes it kind of interesting. It's just, I don't really know what that's going to be like against DDP, who is probably going to try and keep it more at kickboxing range, is going to be throwing a wider variety of weapons, you would imagine, right? Spinning stuff, kicks, teeps. Maybe he's even more active in the clinch. That might be interesting to pay attention to, as well. So you're going to get greater variety at greater ranges, I think, from DDP. But how that matches up with Khamzat.
Meanwhile, Khamzat isn't fazed by talk of DDP's weird style, acknowledging it gets the job done, but confidently stating he's simply better. He believes once the fight hits the mat, DDP's unique approach won't matter against his ground and pound and submissions. Khamzat's excited to get DDP in the cage to see exactly how he handles his relentless grappling and wrestling.
Oh, everyone says it's a weird style, weird. That's MMA style, so I don't think it's some crazy weird, but he does his job, he does good, and he's a good fighter, but I'm better.
In a way, does it really matter how he fights? Because if you come out there, so far no one's been able to stop that initial takedown, and you can just do what you want to do.
Bro, when somebody laying down on the mats, it's how weird you are. You're on the ground, bro. And ground and pound, submissions, bro, they don't care about your style. So we'll see. We'll be happy to see him in the cage, middle, or fight him, striking, wrestling, grappling. And I want to know how he can handle it.
Similarly, Caio Borralho is genuinely torn on his betting pick, admitting DDP consistently proves him wrong. He's focused on Khamzat's tricky system more than just wrestling. It's a blend with jiu-jitsu, so DDP needs to be ready. While Borralho thinks it could be a swift finish like the Whitaker fight, he also sees DDP gaining the upper hand if Khamzat gasses after the first couple of rounds.
Actually, right now, it's hard to bet against DDP because he always shut my mouth, I always bet against him and he always shut my mouth. So it's hard to bet against him, but it's hard to bet against Khamzat. It's just going to be how prepared to the Khamzat style. That is not a wrestling style. It's a different thing. That's the mistake that people do a lot. They prepare to fight against a wrestler. And Khamzat it's not pure wrestling. He has a system. He does something different. He puts jiu-jitsu on the wrestling. So he needs to be well prepared, not against a wrestler, but against this Khamzat style. And I don't know if he's gonna be ready for that. I feel that this fight can be as fast as the Whitaker fight. Like really.
Oh wow.
I think this fight can be really, really fast. But I can see this fight going to the second, the third round, and then I see some advantage for Dricus, you know what I mean?
Do you feel like Dricus' size will be a problem at all, or not really?
Yeah, size and strength, Like I think Khamzat to make him stay on the ground and all that, and Dricus is not bad on the ground, So to make him stay on the ground and all that, if Dricus can take like 1.5 rounds or 2 rounds, maybe Khamzat would be like fatigue for doing so much strength and all that, and then the fight's gonna get better to Dricus,
In the same vein, after training with both combatants, Reinier de Ridder is leaning toward DDP, particularly if the bout continues into the latter rounds. He admits to DDP's weird and erratic style, powerful gas tank, and peculiar angles. In contrast to what most opponents have tried thus far, de Ridder thinks that successfully combining strikes and takedowns is the secret to defeating DDP.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still leaning towards Dricus because of the experience I have with training with both the guys. I just don't see Khamzat finishing him early, and I see Dricus building in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. I see him edging it out, but we'll see. Hopefully it never happens and I can jump in.
What do you think is the key to beating DDP? Because he's just one of those guys. Yeah,
it's a crazy puzzle to solve, because it's the way he moves, everything he does is so weird. The gas tank is crazy. The angles he comes with is very weird. But what we haven't seen people do to him is mixing strikes and takedowns. They all strike and then he shells up, moves back. They stop striking and then he gets another go. But I think what would be important in a Dricus fight is hit him with a couple shots, make him shell up like he likes to do, and then push him against the cage, wrestle with him, get into the clinch.
Moreover, Anthony Hernandez is firmly backing DDP in the middleweight title clash, banking on his toughness and seemingly endless gas tank. He's not buying into an early finish for Khamzat, instead predicting DDP will dominate the later rounds. Hernandez even throws down a bold challenge himself, suggesting Khamzat's cardio won't hold up against a truly seasoned middleweight test.
Between Dricus and Khamzat, how do you see it playing out?
I think Dricus is going to get him, dude. He's a tough son of a bitch, you know what I mean? He doesn't gas out, and then, like I've said with Kazmat, I've never seen him like fight like a legit 185. I mean, Whitaker, yeah, but like besides that, everyone else is like 155ers coming up and so I really want to see him with an actual test, you know what I mean?
If that test was you and you fought Khamzat Chimaev, how would that play out?
I think he gasses. You give me 5 rounds with him, I'll finish anybody, you know what I mean? I don't give a I'm here to fight whoever. I want the belt, so I'm going to fight all these sooner or later, run it. Like, as simple as that.
Finally, Davey Grant believes if Khamzat doesn't finish the fight in the first 2 rounds, it's DDP's for the taking. He admits DDP's style is weird and shouldn't work, yet it consistently gets the job done. Grant also notes that he's heard DDP is an absolute beast in terms of size for his weight class, making him a formidable opponent.
I think it's obviously, if Khamzat doesn't beat him in the first 2 rounds, then it's got to go to Dricus, I think.
Yeah. Well, what do you think's more likely?
For DDP, you know, he just keeps proving. It's weird because you watch him and like no disrespect to him, but it's like he's got a strange style, you know. But it's sort of like it looks as if it shouldn't, but it does, you know. Like he's yeah. And I've heard I can't remember if I've ever seen him in person, but I've heard he's huge for the weight as well.
This battle will have an impact on the division regardless of the winner. Neither man backs down, and Chimaev and Du Plesis are each entering with something to prove. Fans are in for a full-scale battle, that much is certain.